market in Jamaica. The same mangoes are the same one that people are selling in Spanish Town. What made them successful? And the principle wasn't only the product, it was what the seller was doing to help educate the buyers about that product that made a difference. So for once I learned that principle late. I didn't sell any mangoes as a kid when I first tried to sell mangoes out there.
Are you a scaling SaaS founder? Ready to make the leap from leading a team to leading an organization? Join us each week as we refill your think tank with actionable tips and strategies from great business minds you know and those you don't know yet. This is SaaS Fuel with your host, 5-time entrepreneur, SaaS founder, and globetrotting adventurer, Jeff Maines.
Welcome back to the SaaS Fuel podcast, where success in business and fitness both require the same thing: showing up, doing the work, and embracing the sweat. It's just part of the deal. I'm your host, Jeff Maines. I help B2B SaaS founders like you grow from traction to scale. Here, growth is more than just numbers. It's about crafting a future-proof company, premium valuation, and leaders who build a business of significance while living epic, adventurous lives. If your LinkedIn inbox looks like a graveyard of automated pitches, you're not alone. Somewhere along the way, sales went from being about relationships to being about who can send the most messages the fastest. But here's the truth: automation might get your foot in the door sometimes, but authenticity is what closes deals. Today, we're talking about real engagement in sales, how to connect with prospects in a way that doesn't feel transactional, generic, or seriously, a little spammy. We'll break down why human interaction still reigns supreme even in the age of AI. I think it's going to get to be more important. And why setting clear expectations up front can make all the difference in actually moving deals forward. But it's not just about what you say, it's where you say it. Multi channel communication is key. And if you're relying on just one platform, you're leaving money on the table. We'll explore how to blend LinkedIn, email, and even text messages into a seamless strategy that keeps conversations alive without overwhelming prospects. And hey, if you're tired of sending follow ups that disappear into the void, we got you covered there too. We'll discuss how proactive engagement, like commenting on posts and sharing relevant content, like this podcast, can help you build relationships that actually leads to sales instead of feeling like just another name in someone's inbox or spam box, as the case may be. In a world where AI is changing the way buyers behave, salespeople who master the human side of selling will always have the edge. And I think it's going to be more and more of an edge over time. So if you're ready to stand out, build trust, and close more deals the right way, this episode is all for you. Let's get into it. Our founder on Tuesday was Gerald Zenkel, CEO and co-founder of Kickscale. He shared how AI-powered insights are revolutionizing sales efficiency. Gerald revealed how sales leaders can optimize processes, balance data-driven strategies with human connection, and score multi-million-dollar deals with top brands like Red Bull, Bloomberg, and BBC. And our expert guest last week was Peter Benet, principal consultant at Intercept Scale. He explored the role of AI in B2B marketing and leadership. As a remote leadership expert and author of Leadership Anywhere, Peter broke down how businesses can leverage automation while maintaining authenticity in their sales and marketing strategies, and also lead people no matter where they are in this remote world. If you missed either of those episodes, go back and check them out. Great stuff there. My guest today, Donald Kelly, has made it his mission to transform how sales teams engage, communicate, and close. As host of the Sales Evangelist podcast, he shared game-changing insights with thousands of sellers. Recognized by Salesforce, LinkedIn, and other industry leaders as a top influencer, Donald is also the author of Sell It Like a Mango and co-author of Sales Courseware taught in 90 universities. Today, he's here to break down the secrets to winning more deals, building authentic connections, and as he puts it, do big things. Welcome, Donald Kelly. Hey, Donald, welcome to SaaS Fuel.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. So grateful for it, Jeff.
Your mission is to inspire sellers to do big things, which I think is awesome. What does that phrase mean to you in the context of B2B sales?
I think for many of us, it goes beyond sales. It started off when I first started really doing a lot of speaking and was on a kick for personal improvement. And I realized that for me and many others, and I'll speak for Donald, is that I was living below what I was capable of. And I think, especially in sales, sometimes we become subservient to prospects or think that we need to live lower or be lower. But we can accomplish great things, and everyone out there need our services in our particular people in our space, our prospects, our ideal customers. There's a reason they can benefit from our services. And instead of us living short and saying, I only hit my quota, no, there's people out there that need what we have to offer. Let's go find them. I only could sell to this type of company. No, there are bigger companies out there in your space that you can go after. Why is only somebody else in another company can do that? As you as an enterprise rep, you can take care of those as well. And but most of the companies, the majority of salespeople, they're not distinguished by enterprise. They can go after a market, and sometimes we just live below our surface, below our level of what we feel that we can do. So when I challenge them to do big things, challenge them to go for that next call, challenge them to go for that achieve quota or go above your quota, challenge them to just be them best, their best selves. So that's where the idea from do big things come from.
I like that. How do we know if we're really living below what we're capable of doing?
Yeah, I think individually, intrinsically, we know. It may feel like you're
Yeah.
coasting. Like am I doing my best? One of the things that I like to look at is there's that quote around you're the average of the five people you spend the most of your
Yeah.
time with. So if me and my friends are all at the same level, then, or the people that I associate with within my sales world, like that would give me a good indicator, because there's always a next level that you can go to or accomplish or
Yeah.
attain. And I've sometimes seen people, and I've been in this case at times where I didn't want to outshine people around me, so I didn't challenge myself to get any better. I just coasted. So we all know that. So I think that's probably the first thing you can do. You know it, and then secondly, the people around you, and then thirdly, I think is going outside of that comfort zone at times and
Yeah.
asking for and seeing what good looks like. Are there others around? What are people around me doing? For instance, when I go to conferences and I see people doing things, I'm like, holy moly, like folks are doing that. Oh my goodness, they're working with these type of
Yeah.
companies, and it's like, crap, like why am I not there as well? And it really comes back down to that self-reflection. If we're honest with ourselves, sometimes we tell ourselves, I want to improve. Oh, I'm glad where I'm at. I don't want to take on any more worse responsibilities. I don't want to do anything else. And I was like, sometimes that's true, but I feel that majority of times it's bull crap, because
Yes.
we don't want to be accountable for more. So we say, I just want to live like this. No, I don't think everybody wants to get up and just go work every single day of their life. They want to spend time with their family. They want to do other things as well. And money is not the most important thing in the world, but it's right up there with oxygen, according to Zig Ziglar. But it
Yep.
gives you the opportunity as tools so you can enjoy life. And if I have the opportunity where I can make more money and do more so I can experience, live for 3 months in Europe with my family, absolutely, I want to do that. And I don't want to work 24 hours, 7 days a week. And I think sometimes people feel like that in order for me to get even better than where I am, that requires me to do more. It requires me to, let's back up. We have false sense of what that might look like because we've never been there before. When in
Yes.
actuality, I found that some of the people who are performing a higher caliber level, it's not that they're working 24 hours a day. They just have systems in place that's helped them to be able to
Right.
accomplish a lot more. But because we're on the outside, we're not privy to be in that group, we think that if they're making some of these big deals, they're doing twice as much work as we are. When in actuality, they're probably not doing twice as much work. They just think bigger and they expand themselves. So instead of them doing all of their updates, they have tech that help them out with that. Or probably they invest in themselves, have personal assistants, or perhaps they take time and budget out their days and go through, have studied books on how they can maximize their efforts. Like they're doing things at a higher level, what we don't understand, but we can't make the assumption of their life is so much more busier and because they're more successful than we are. It's oftentimes they have more to help them out. So hopefully this
Yeah.
all makes sense. But that's how I would look at it and evaluate it. And that's what I've done for myself.
It does. I think it makes a lot of sense. And just looking back, a lot of the times where I said, I'm okay here, I don't really want to do that. And there was always some underlying reason. And so I knew that there was more, but there was some mental block, usually a mindset block that was keeping me from whatever that was. And so I've really had to question every time I'm content with a specific area. and I'm definitely, happy in a lot of areas and content. But anytime I am that way, and I'm like, I don't want to take that next step, I have to take a step back. And why is that? And really think about that and go deeper. What is it that's holding me back? And anytime I say I can't, then it almost turns into then I must.
Mm.
So it's because there's something there that I've got to break through. And it's been really interesting over the last year in doing that and pushing the boundaries. And the more we push, the more we understand what we're capable of.
Oh, I love that. It's getting beyond our comfort zone. It,
Yeah,
like I find you've heard it and it sounds cliche, but it's just true. It's like when we get beyond our comfort zone, it's uncomfortable, but that's where growth happens. And I
yes,
found that to be so true in so many instances where I tell myself something I can't do, but then there becomes an accountability or an outside pressure that makes me do it. So I'll give you an example. We've procrastinated. Many of us procrastinate, and I'm speaking for myself. Say I have to do a training for a company, and I know for several months, but I could
sure.
get that training content done in 24 hours. But why couldn't I do it in 24 days or 48 days? It's because there was accountability, there was a deadline, there was something that happens to be there.
Yeah,
And oftentimes we don't want to we don't want those accountabilities because they're harder, but in actuality they liberate us and we can do way more. So when I accomplished that
right.
task in a short period of time, I'm like, holy moly, I did this. I could do more than this. So I feel, and this is why I stress not to do a soapbox here or a pitch, but we have a sales mastermind and our with our sales training program, and some sellers just come for the mastermind because they want that accountability every week, that somebody's going to hold up their feet to the fire, so to speak. You say you're going to hit X amount of calls, you're going to hit X amount of appointments, you're going to try to bring this deal in, you're going to work on this particular thing. How did you do on that? And there's nothing worse than going in front of your peers when you make a commitment and not do it. There's that challenge behind that. So I've tried to look for ways that I can incorporate more accountability in my life, because that accountability helped me to do way more than what I think that I'm capable of in the first place. And yeah, I just there's just huge power in it. And just your statement just triggered a whole bunch of thoughts. So it's amazing.
That's good. As SaaS companies scale, thinking about sales and founders are usually selling themselves. And so, how do they effectively balance founder led sales with product led growth without losing momentum? How do they keep that going?
Yeah, I think this is an interesting one. The product led growth start on that side. There is you always have to have innovation, right? And I
Yeah.
think there's on the product side. I was talking to one of our friends, collaborators over at Crunchbase. One thing that they did in this, obviously they're a little bit bigger than a startup, right? But they and have founder led sales. But one of the things, though, I think the principle apply. They went on a road show with all of their customers, focusing on how can they improve their product. And they took a lot of insights, which were able to improve the product. And then that was able to naturally lead to them increasing sales. But going back to specifically on product led growth, or some companies that are like product led sales focus, when you can improve on making your product, I think the companies that focus on customer service and customer success, meaning, can I make this easy for others to use? And if you can become more innovative in that process, you can obviously increase your sales because people naturally sell your product for you. And also, it makes it easier to sell that through product led growth methods. If I'm trying to eliminate the seller from doing some of the mundane task, if I can have the product do some of that the early on demo, or and give you an example. Like when I look at product led growth companies and products that I'm trying to use, I go to their website and I get information, but I go to YouTube and I watch it and I can self educate myself, and it makes it easier for me to be able to get the product, but it also makes it easier for the company to be able to see an increase in sales. The challenge with
Yes.
that, though, is if you're just on that method, it's like you're not going to get up market really when you're just a product led growth by itself. And this is where we see that the enterprise or the scaling with an effective sales team can work. So if the individual seller, if an individual buyer buying one-off buyers, buying a few license, yes, product-led growth probably the best way for me to go with that. But to help me scale, and I can make the product easy so people can understand it, it can use it, and can make it a a friendly site. But then when I'm going up market, that's where I might look at scaling. And as sales founder that's only selling themselves, that becomes a problem, very problematic, because that person can't really advance the organization. So you got to have the proper systems in place, and you got to have the proper people in place and the processes that's going to help you to be able to get up market, and to get to those customers that help you scale at a faster pace when it comes to bigger items. So hopefully that gave some insights there. We can go deeper into some of those, but I know that was I went off on my soapbox on that one, because I've seen this. I found it myself, and I've seen clients in that situation where the founder was selling a product, something that should have been a product led growth method, or a product that
Right.
individual can buy, and they're out there selling it. I'm like, why are you selling a $19 product yourself? Can we put an effective system in place and then go after and sell 19 license to another company, rather than trying to sell a
Right.
one-off? And I think that makes a mistake a lot of people make at the early on, founders, when they're trying to, especially if they're not venture backed, but if they're doing this on their own with their own money.
Yeah. Yeah, they're just trying to do what they can. They're doing what they know,
Yeah,
and it's, "I need to go sell some stuff," and a $19 sale is not worth investing time, but they don't know another way to do it, or they've, tried product-led growth and it didn't work.
yeah.
And it's not that it doesn't work, it's how you do it and how you position it and how your messaging. There's so many nuances to product-led growth.
Oh my goodness. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's one of our clients. They had some challenges with it as well, because then I'll give you the nuance. The issue they faced was, now you have they had discovered a way to get a lot more inbound. So a lot of these companies were reaching out, and they were interested in their services, but it was at a point where they're like, yes, we need a sale, but there were smaller ticket items. And it was, should we hire more salespeople to handle this? And it's no, we just need a better way of educating them to help
Right.
them take care of it on their own, rather than us going through the process. And then you waste a bunch of time where you're meeting with people and you're like, oh my goodness, this person could have done it by themselves. Like paying
Right.
somebody $50,000 a year just to do that, that doesn't quite make sense. So, anyways,
Yeah.
yeah, want to get
Yeah,
the
the
sale.
other way to solve it is you increase the average contract value. So instead of 19, it becomes 900,
Exactly.
and figure out how to solve a bigger problem or sell bigger
Yeah,
deals.
you best believe at that point I'll be like, okay, a little bit more expensive. All right, I get you.
Yeah, yeah. In your book, Sell It Like a Mango, what's the key lesson new sellers and I'd say even experienced founders often overlook when it comes to closing more deals?
Yeah. So the premise behind the book, Sell It Like a Mango, is we find that sometimes sellers will tell ourselves that our product is so unique and so different. We try to tell ourselves that our product is what makes the sale. Like our product needs to be improved or fixed. There was a guy
Right.
that I worked with, and this was his name. Well, I'll keep his name. Let's call him Bill. So Bill, one of the things that he had his crutch was that our company needed to have more brochures so he can pass out. This was back in the 2010-11 era. So he was going in
Wow.
person, but he needed brochures, so it needed collateral, needed PDFs, and those all make it helpful. But the idea was that he thought that was the thing that was going to help him to be able to sell more. It's in a way, our one of the things that we said in the company was like, does Superman really need the cape to fly? And in actuality, Superman doesn't need a cape to fly. He's flying. Cape is there for show. And
Yeah.
then you come back to this question now. Like, so as a kid in Jamaica, one of the things that I saw was I saw people selling mangoes in Kingston. So I figured, you know what, I could sell, or in Spanish Town, I could sell mangoes as well. It was the same exact product that I was selling that they were selling. It wasn't like their mangoes are coming from abroad. It was the mangoes that were right in Jamaica, probably the same region.
Sure.
It could be from the same tree, Wasn't exactly, but it was like it wasn't anything revolutionary. But how come they were
Right.
more successful than me? And go back to this thing. Sometimes when we say, I'm not contradicting myself with the product that growth example, and that we need to improve our product. Of course, we need to do that because that makes it a more innovative. But what in the sell it like a mango concept, I was telling myself that it was only the product that was making the sale for these clients, and therefore it was I needed to have the best product. But anyway, I had the best product at the same time. And as a kid in Jamaica, the same mangoes are the same one that people were selling in Spanish Town. What made them successful, and the principle wasn't only the product; it was what the seller was doing to help educate the buyers about that product that made a difference. So for once I started, I learned that principle late. I didn't sell any mangoes as a kid when I first tried to sell mangoes out there. But as I got older and I got into software sales and I got into selling services, I realized similar things. My competitors had similar product that I did. It wasn't that much different. But instead of me saying we need to have XYZ and we need to have the brochure in order for me to sell, it wasn't only that. Yes, we wanted to make sure we had the best software, and yes, we needed to have innovation, but it wasn't limiting just to that. I needed to take ownership at certain parts of the sales process. I needed to have be more ask better questions. I needed to listen more effectively. I needed to be able to reestablish value at different parts. I needed to overcome objection, and there are things that I needed to do as a seller. And let's go back to this the famous example people say is not only a fast car wins a race, right? It's the driver, a part of that.
Yeah.
And in that case, I was a driver with a fast car, but I wasn't the most talented driver. Once you get that combination and you're innovating on your product, you're cooking with hot chicken grease at that point.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, AI is something that is made a huge push into the market and in a lot of different ways. A lot of AI-driven automation in sales.
Mhm.
You've highlighted some of the downsides, and what's the biggest mistake companies are making today when automating sales outreach, and how do they fix it?
I'll probably go back to what we shared on the last point. They're like sell like a mangoes, the driver, so to speak, right? The seller. Um, AI, and please don't, I hope people don't get me wrong on this one. I am not a hater of AI. I use it, I was using it before this call. But the way I use it, though, the way I've seen people misuse it was they try to automate the whole sales process or take themselves, the human, out of the whole element. And that becomes dangerous in B2B sales. And here's what I mean by that. They were saying this AI tool can write my emails for me, and then I can automatically send out my emails to them, and they can automatically follow up, and we can do some automatic commenting on LinkedIn, and we can do some automatic engagement and so forth, and we can do some automatic dials, and then we can do some automatic calls where it can be an AI agent, and it's going to automatically pull stuff from LinkedIn and start an artificial conversation. And then at that point I will jump in later on. I got a call yesterday, and it was one of those kind of automated things. They talk and it sounds pretty human, and it gives you give a second or two. And I thought I was talking to someone. I quickly realized it was a machine. And I'm feeling that way. More and more prospects are feeling that way as well. And I think since the pandemic, we've seen that people were craving more interaction, more human interaction. So when we
Yes.
double down on this idea of AI and we push ourselves out of the process, one, we create less inferior experience for our buyer, and two, we increase the noise level. So we're sending out more emails now that are garbage and more robo dials, and we're doing more of this stuff, and and since they're not answering, we're going to increase the volume of it. So now we even more clutter. So it's the fastest to zero as much as
Yeah.
possible. And it makes it challenging that it's harder to prospect. Now, that's the bad situation. The good situation is now that I need to have more human interaction, can I have, and people are craving that engagement, can I use AI to do some homework for me and to go scour the web and identify which type of customers are our best customers based on analysis, and then to also help me to create a list of those. And I can use that, go to tools like Navigator and build a list of those ideal customers. And then I can use a tool like Apollo to be able to go and scour the web and get me the right email address and phone numbers. And I can use that a tool like EvaBot or to be able to help do research on the pain points of the company and to find triggers and intent that can help me to be able to
Yeah.
craft. And I can use a tool, there are other tools that are out there to help me to formulate an email, but then for me to be able to structure it myself and to cut it down and to use the intel that I gather to craft something that I find meaningful. Like that, I think there's the mixture of both of those makes it so effective. I'm an opponent again to the idea of automating LinkedIn messages and sending out a whole bunch of random DM messages. Yeah, you can get
Yeah.
some people to respond, but you're going to take a whole bunch of people off in the process and be labeled as spammer because it's not engaging. So there's and going to auto comments. Don't even get me started on that. I think that's a dumb thing as well because
Yeah.
you're trying to fabricate the human experience, and it goes back to what we started talking about at the top of the episode. It's like we're dodging work, dodging the opportunities to do big things, because we're just trying to get out of it, as much as possible. And I think there's the human side, that piece we can't fabricate, and we no matter how much we try it, we can't automate that component. Again, I can be more innovative with utilizing AI, but to take myself out of the process, that's where continue to see problems with organizations when they're trying to use AI. You don't eliminate your salespeople, keep the human side of it, and that makes a bigger difference in comparison to your competitors who maybe just sending out pure garbage.
Oh, absolutely. I think tasks are really easy to automate. AI is fantastic for
Yeah,
that, but relationships are a terrible thing to
it
automate.
is totally, and I think that's probably a great way of
Yeah.
summarizing it. I'll give you one. I wrote a letter. I needed to write a letter to it's for outside of work. It was a church responsibility, and so I dictated it to Chat GPT, and then I asked it to condense it for errors. Remove errors and make sure it's grammatically correct. And I spoke for 5 minutes, 42 seconds, not that I remember, and or 24 seconds. Then chat did its thing, and I got home. I was able to then look at it. I was able to clean it up because it was literally my dictation. It was just more fixing a couple of those things. So instead of me getting an assistant to do that, I was able to do that in a few minutes. And
Yeah.
that's an easy task. But am I going to have it just go and randomly go find things on this prospects and create an email sequence and then send it out to them? And I'm just going to sit back and watch Wally or whatnot. We need to make sure that we're doing our part, to have it do its part, and then we bring the human element inside.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Ready to dominate your market and skyrocket your revenue? Dive into Small Fish Big Pond, delivering a world class business that swims circles around competitors. This book is packed with powerful marketing and leadership insights guaranteed to transform your business and operate world class. Small Fish Big Pond delivers proven strategies to sharpen your marketing message, deliver unmatched value to your clients, and guide your prospects' buying journey to one inevitable conclusion: that your company is the only solution for them. Inside, you'll find step by step frameworks and time tested growth principles to attract your ideal clients, convert them, and then turn them into your passionate brand ambassadors. Grab your copy today in print, ebook, or audio at smallfishbigpond.com or on Amazon. Plus, remember, every book sale supports charity. All profits go there. Always have, always will. So dive in and make a difference. Well, LinkedIn is a great tool. You mentioned that, and yeah, I think it's been somewhat abused over the years, and some of the limitations now are probably a good thing.
yeah.
At least it cuts down on the amount of spam. But what is your go-to strategy for turning casual connections into meaningful business conversations? How do we do that without turning people off?
Yeah, so there's a process that we have internally. We call there's we if initially it was to connect, share, and engage. So connect with the ideal customer, share relevant content, and engage with people on that. Now it's still basically the formula, but it's just 2.0 to this, where now one, we are breaking through the noise or grabbing attention. Two, we are getting engagement. Three, we're starting conversations. And then four, we're booking appointments. And if you go in this order, it helps you out. You can still do it's a still just a little bit above the idea of connect, share, and engage. And I'll just explain all of those. When it comes to grabbing attention, I love to read those, not love, but I that's a strong word. I don't know if I love this, but I've always been intrigued by the billboards, those attorney that says, you'll get money no matter what. Those injury attorney, call us and
Right.
we'll help you win money no matter what. And the idea is they know they're not going to take on a case that they can't win. That's the guarantee. So that preliminary
Right.
conversation is to figure out, is this a winnable case? And then they go for it. They do not take on every case. And I find that very interesting. But us as salespeople, sometimes we feel that everyone is in our there. We sell shoes and there are humans out there. Therefore, all humans want and need our shoes. In actuality, no.
Right.
There's a certain number of humans that will just not like your shoes. They may not like Adidas, but they will wear shoes. So therefore they're going to wear a Nike or Asus. That's just the reality of the situation. So I need to find those cases, quote unquote, that I'm more likely to win, those people that are more interested in what I have to offer. So with LinkedIn, it gives us a good data set to be able to do so. With Navigator, they have components. Like I'll give you for us, when we do outreach, LinkedIn as proven that people who are new to their role are 60 to 70% more likely to engage, to invest in new material. And that goes back to some of the internal reasons. One, they're trying to make an impact. Two, they're not locked into certain tools. So they're open to change at that point because there's a new regime coming in, so to speak, for their department. So those people, so we like to look at people who are new to their roles. And then we like to look at people who are engaging on LinkedIn. So if I have a list of 10 VPs of sales, and there are 10 of them at these companies that could be our ideal customer, but only 5 of them are posting on LinkedIn and only 5 of them have been new to the roles. Those are the cases that I'm going for because statistically proven, those are the cases that are more likely to win. It's not that the other ones can't, but I'm going for those
Right.
5. So I'm going for those 5. So I try to engage. It's easy to engage. It's very hard to engage with people who are not on LinkedIn because if they're not there to come in to check once a month,
Yeah.
then it sucks, kid. So how
Yeah.
we do engage? People love to talk about themselves. Thus, they have a post. Their post may be announcing their new job position, or maybe announcing something about their company, or maybe they post regular and they're sharing something about their travel recently to Tuscany before they came into this new position. They took a break. All of that gives me feathered or ammo tools to be able to utilize to engage with them. I will go on their posts and I will comment, and I will not say something dumb like "Congrats on a new role." I'll say something a little bit engaging. ABC company has been growing over the past X number of years and looks like they picked the right person for this awesome new position. Congrats, Melissa, on your new role. Can't wait to see what happens, what changes you implement. Blah blah blah. Now, somebody say this is very thoughtful or thoughtful-ish. So instead of just congrats, okay, I appreciate that. Thanks, Donald. I broke through the first level, the first problem. I grabbed attention because I commented on something that they find important because that's what she's posting about. I use that to then get my connection request to start engagement. So I'll send something like, Melissa, congrats again on the role. Permission to connect here on LinkedIn. At that point, it's easy. Sure, this guy was nice or person was
Yeah.
nice. I'm going to engage back with them. They engage back. And now we have that engagement level. I've broke through the noise as opposed to the old school way. I need to get to Melissa. So I'll say, hey, Melissa, I want to tell you about our services. It can definitely help you out and help you increase. Like she's going to block that off because she already has 1,000 messages because people are automating and using AI sending stuff to her
Right.
already. But I came in as a genuine thing through that avenue. Now, when I haven't shot my shot yet, but that's engagement. She'll reply back and she'll say, Donald, of course. She'll say, of course, I'd love to connect. I'll send a voice message and I'll say something to the nature. I want to put a face with the name, put a voice with the name, let you know that I'm not some robot or AI. Out of curiosity, what's your first line of business in this new position? Seems like it's a awesome opportunity. Thank you again. Might brag. My first order of business is to get our team built up and to get this thing going. And to our mission is to help the world become easier, one CRM at a time. Like, cool. Now she told me to build a team up. I have a community of salespeople. If you have a job post, let me know and I can share that with our community. Still nothing that's benefiting me at this point, but I'm just giving
Right. Right.
value. And again, each of these scenarios may be different for individuals, but I'm just running through to show you. Now that I've got engagement and I've started conversation, now I try to get an appointment. This is where I might send an email relative to the challenge that she's facing. I don't necessarily pitch on LinkedIn because I don't want to burn that, but my email might be like helping something to tie back, helping the one CRM at a time, changing the world one CRM at a time, and then she'll see my name and more than likely open it. Be like, hey, your message about helping the world one CRM at a time triggered a thought. I know you guys are always looking to grow your team, and I know you guys have looked at doing some kind of internal enablement department before in the past, may not have necessarily worked out. Would have Are you opposed to the idea of using outside organization to help train some of your new people or coach some of your veterans? At least I might get some kind of respond at that point. I'd say, Donald, yeah, it's
Right.
something that we're looking forward to. I'm just trying to get through the first phase of hiring these folks. But yeah, let's talk. Now I get an appointment from that. My email now
Yeah.
doesn't land on deaf ears. So again, I broke through the noise. I grabbed her attention by grabbing her attention with something that matters to her. I got engagement by her engaging on her posts and then engaging in conversation on the LinkedIn app. And then I established communication on another platform with email and where I shoot my shot with a value prop to get the appointment. And that's one way that you can go about doing it. So that's my play with LinkedIn. I love using it. There's other plays you can look at too, but those are some ways that you can take advantage of a platform like LinkedIn to break through noise and get appointments.
I like that. And I think it's definitely underutilized to comment and engage, like genuinely engage with other people's posts,
Yeah.
not doing it with AI and fake comments. And comment bots are crazy out there. But when you actually do that and you come across as human and then you're actually having a human conversation, people respond to that because your relationships matter. And I really like the way that you do that and then tie it back in with
Yeah.
email. And so you're not polluting LinkedIn with the pitch,
Yeah.
but you're keeping the relationship and then you're tying those 2 channels together, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and I think where we fall short, and again, we say we, and I know people can relate to it, but I'm going to speak for myself. I've not seen, and this may be a insult to someone, people out there. I have not watched Severance yet, but everyone's in the world seem like they've watched it on Apple. Have you seen that? Heard about it?
I haven't seen it
Oh,
yet,
where it
no. It's on my
yeah.
list.
So the idea is interesting for those who don't know about it, but there's severance. Basically, these people they flip a switch when they go to work and when they leave work. That's the premise that I know. But I know from what most salespeople have is like they leave work. I mean, they leave home and they put on this flip a switch and they put on this facade that I'm now a salesperson. Or when I go on LinkedIn, I'm a salesperson, and they stop being human. Go back to what we said.
Yeah,
People are craving it. So your comments don't have to be something like if one of my friends got a new job, I'm not going to say congrats on a new role. Like that sounds wonderful. I'm like, bro, that's absolutely amazing. Like how did you get that? I'll probably say something like throw some mess with them, but I might say, are you sure they hired the right person? And just
yeah.
jockey back and forth. But with a stranger, I may not necessarily say something like that, but I can be. How can I still maintain my put Donald in there and be a human in that? And that's where I think that's the challenge for most sellers. How do I be professional and still be myself? And I think there's a level of where there's a good crossing there where you can just be human. And that comes back to the sincerity of it rather than I'm just going to push what LinkedIn gives us default congrats and tell them a little bit more. Or
Yeah,
out of curiosity, what any tips you would give to somebody starting in a new position as in operations? Okay, great, that's a good one. Or you can even go to Chat
yeah.
GPT at this point and ask, what can I do as a conversation starter to somebody who just landed a new gig? That could be a good way of using chat to then
Yes,
trigger a conversation on somebody's post. You know,
that's really good. And personalization is huge.
yeah,
And I think one of the things, if we're not using AI, and I think that's probably the wise decision, especially now, as more companies are starting to test it. But the founders will still struggle and salespeople to personalize outreach at scale. What's your advice to maintaining that personal touch
yeah.
without sacrificing growth? Because I think that's the fear is if I don't use AI like everybody else, then I'm not going to have the same results. I'm not going to win.
It takes a lot of personalization up front, but then you can do it in the back end. So let me give you something that I do. When I do an outreach like that, with Melissa. I'm just made this up, but if there's a Melissa out there and you want training, I'd love to train teams. But what typically would happen then, email number 2, 3, and 4 probably will be more scalable based on the role or problems that the role that Melissa's have, because I know what those new sales leaders are facing in a mid-sized level organization, and I can speak to that. Once that I've grabbed her attention, I'm just speaking to the role after that, if that makes sense. And that enables me to be able to do more at scale. But at the beginning, if I don't do it properly, it's if I start off on a path, I'm flying a plane and I start off going 1 degree off. By the time I get to my
Yeah.
destination, I am 4,000 miles away from where I was supposed to be initially because I didn't start off on a right track in the first place. So here I am doing this automation and I thought this was going well. I started off by going after those 5 people that are not even on LinkedIn or don't not or may not necessarily have need for my services at this point, even though they're VP of sales. Like I want the VP of sales that's new, that's posting, and that their company clearly has problems with stuff that we can fix. And that takes some work at the beginning to be able to find those and that a little personalization to engage with them.
That's really good. And it's real personalization, not the fake stuff of, "Hey, I see you went to this same
I hate that
school
one.
25 years ago."
Oh my goodness. Like, yes.
I do too. It's like, that has absolutely 0 relevance, and it's probably automated, and I don't wanna talk to you even if I wanted what you had.
Yeah. Like, no, no.
Yeah. Oh. Follow-up is, I think, a big challenge in sales, especially over this last year. It seems like a lot of deals have been lost to no decision or just go
Yeah.
dark. And then that follow-up, what is a good way to follow up? Or maybe what's one follow-up tactic that consistently works, specifically in B2B sales, but maybe is overlooked because it's too simple?
Agreeing to it. And I'm serious, man. So for me, I found when I have follow-up challenges because I didn't set the rules before we played the game, and I'm getting mad at the prospect now that they've changed things up mid-game. So, for instance, if I tell them at the beginning in that initial meeting, I want to, in order for us, here's what I would like to do for the next thing. Want us to set a specific date and time. You set that specific date and time. Don't leave with, yeah, let me think about it, or yeah, just send me some stuff and I'll get back to you. I need to be as a consultant and be straightforward. And Jeff, all right, I just want to ask permission to say something. You might say, all right, what's up, Donald? I know you're a busy person, and I'm a busy person, but usually when somebody tells me that, I get the hint that it's not a top priority, and I don't want. The last thing I want to do is to be somebody that's pushing something that's not a priority right now. Yeah, I just don't know Donald. Yeah, and I get that too. Mike, your time is busy and my time as well. So what I'd like to do, we can pencil something in because I know you want to fix this if this is real. So let's set up a pencil a date in. And if something comes up that we need to change, we can change. But I don't want to have to. I don't want to have to send out 6,000 emails and get on your naughty list. But the point is, I just need to set it up at the very beginning with the prospect. Let them know. Also, like what I've typically have seen is in the initial conversation, telling them I learned this from one of my friends. So big shout out to Scott. But just tell them at the beginning that you're going to do this at the end of the conversation. Today, we're going to learn a little bit more about what you're looking for. I'm going to demonstrate some of our capabilities, and I'm going to dedicate the last 3 to 5 minutes for us to be able to have a conversation to see if it makes sense to move forward or not. But at
Yeah.
least they now know that. And then if that sometimes things happen, right? You have an appointment and then somebody needs to go fly to Milwaukee and you didn't know and they had an emergency and life is coming up and things get busy. What I like to do is make sure that I have connections on multiple platforms. So this is a part of the strategy as well, where we talked about
That's
LinkedIn
good.
and then we talk with email. And then what I like to do is get them to get on text messages basis with me. I use tools like Apollo so I can have their mobile number. But what I typically will do is let them know, hey Jeff, at the end of the meeting, Jeff, before we go, here's my cell phone number, 561, blah, 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 blah,
Yeah.
25. And say, hit me up or message me there in case something comes up that we can't meet next week. What's the best number to reach you at? And then you shut up to text. Yeah, you can hit me on my cell. Now I have cell communication, I have email, and then I have social. So I have 3 means of communication. Follow up doesn't necessarily always mean hey, I'm just following up. In actuality, I hate that. I loathe them.
I did too.
So what I look at, and I'll give you this quick story in 30 seconds. There's a prospect I was working with. We were on Twitter, and I was trying to get back in touch with him. I didn't ask him follow up. I just commented on something because we've been commenting on Twitter. And then he said, "Hey, Donald, let's set up an appointment in the new year. I didn't forget about you, blah, blah, blah." It's not like all of a sudden the prospects don't remember who I am after spending like
Yeah.
a 30-minute meeting or whatnot with me. They don't have memories that bad, but they that counts as a follow-up where they're like, dang it, I need to reach out back to this person. But I engaged on their
Yeah.
stuff, and that was able to help me. And then also just providing resources to people relative to the problems. Jeff, you mentioned about the last time we talked about, you mentioned hiring was becoming a nuance and so forth. And I know you're definitely looking at ways to fix that. But I saw this article I thought you might find interesting, how teams are taking advantage of remote work to expand their outreach effort, their recruitment effort. Check it out and summarize piece of it in a video for you here. But that's a follow up without me saying, "Hey Jeff, where you at for our next meeting?" You know what I mean?
Yeah. I like
Yeah,
that. I think that's really good. It's personal. It's really continuing to build that connection
yeah,
like a human.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, with AI, automation, evolving buyer behavior, I think that's changed a lot even over the last year. What do you see as the future of B2B sales, say in the next 3 to 5 years?
Wow, I think this is it's going to continue to propel forward. I can't even imagine what
Yeah.
what it would be like. But some of the guesstimation that I would say is just as much as how companies on our side, the sales side, are using it. I can see how the buyers would be armed with it as well. So buy an agent. I need you to before they're doing it with resumes right now. So go through these emails and that's coming in and see if there's any that's relevant to our business and to our department. Are there any companies that we're getting information from? Because sometimes buyers want to meet with sellers because they're great consultants and they can give them information. They're very cheap, free. So I'll sit down with a sales rep from ABC and from Salesforce and from this because they might bring innovative ideas. I can see that happening. I can also see that perhaps maybe the first round of meetings for you is to meet with my avatar first. And the avatar can summarize what you're trying to sell and see if that's beneficial for me as an organization. We do it right now with sales where we're sending out emails via avatar, via Vidyard. But can somebody visit with program my avatar to meet with sellers and they can give me based on what we're looking for. They're not necessarily going to be something of value to us, but if it is, then let's set up a meeting and the avatar summarize it. These guys have a CRM tool that can really help us out at this point because of this and because of this. I'll take the meeting at that point. But I think there's more on the buyer side, and then ways to hide from us even more as
Yeah.
sellers. I think there's going to be more of that. We see right now with Google improvement with their emails to push out garbage. I think there's more AI capabilities that's going to help us help to detect and put up more barriers to detect what's real from what's not real, and it's going to be harder, I think, to get in touch with buyers in the traditional way. So that would be
I
my
think you're right.
prediction.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. And sales is changing. It's changed over the last 5 years, changed over the last year and a half in big ways. I think what does the future look like? I think you're exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there'll definitely be different than it is today.
And now think about this. Let's say that does happen with the buyer side. The seller side, they're going to push more. I need to get those AI agents. So my AI is going to meet with your AI at the very beginning to see if there's value for us to get together. And yeah,
That actually may
I'm
happen. Yeah,
telling you,
have your butt call my butt.
seriously. Now I can take sales calls. I don't want to miss out on opportunities, but I can see which ones are good. And AI can meet
Yeah,
with, again, 50 people and say, yeah, these three have things that are relevant to our priorities right now and make sense. But recommend these
I think
meetings.
that's entirely
I
possible.
know. So now a business idea. Let me go figure this stuff out.
Now you just need to build it. Yeah. Where can people learn more about you online?
Yeah, so LinkedIn is where I hang out. You can go there, find me, Donald C. Kelly. You can also find me at my website, thesalesevangelist.com. Those are the places where I camp out the most. And we have a podcast ourselves called The Sales Evangelist, where we
Yes.
talk about sales ideas just like this, strategies, and give tips. And love to have you check that out too.
Outstanding. We'll make sure and link that in the show notes.
Yeah. Well, Awesome.
Donald, such a great conversation. Thanks for being on SaaS Fuel.
Jeff, appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. And for all of you listening, this is one thing Jeff probably will ask you, but it's always beneficial when the neighbor can say something. It seems like it carry more weight than when your parents say it. So here's the thing I'm going to ask you is that you go and leave a rating and review. As a podcaster, I know how it is when you want to grow your show. If you found any value in this, just go tag Jeff on social and share the link to the podcast. I know that he'll appreciate it, but also somebody else will appreciate it. And it's a great way to grow the show because you're loving it already. All right. So that's my pitch.
Thank you. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks again, Donald, for coming on the show and sharing your insights and resources. You can learn more about Donald and the Sales Evangelist at thesalesevangelist.com. As always, all links, highlights, resources, and full show notes are available at saasfuel.com. Be sure to check us out on YouTube as well. It's at Champion Leadership. You can find full video episodes, shorts, outtakes, training for SaaS leaders, lots of stuff over there for you. Thought Leaders Share. Help someone discover their next big idea. Share this episode with them. They will thank you for helping them do big things. Everyone who shares this week gets a micromanagement auto blocker. It's an AI system that locks you out of your employees' dashboards the moment you try to just take a quick look at their work. Yeah, it's really hard to let go sometimes, isn't it? What if you could build a high performing sales engine using proven strategies that deliver real results? Join us next week as Colin Stewart, CEO of Predictable Revenue, reveals the sales techniques behind scaling multi-million-dollar companies and shares insights from 350 plus interviews on sales, marketing, and startup growth. Then next Thursday on our SaaS Fuel Expert Series, we'll sit down with James Wilton, pricing strategist and former senior expert at McKinsey & Company, ran their pricing division. We'll talk about how SaaS companies can monetize new products, optimize pricing strategies, and maximize revenue growth even in competitive markets. So I will see you next time, and as always, enjoy the journey.
Thanks for listening to SaaS Fuel. Full show notes for each episode, which includes a summary, key takeaways, quotes, and any resources mentioned, are available at saasfuel.com. Be sure to follow and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you're enjoying the content and getting value from these episodes, please leave us a rating and review at ratethispodcast.com/saasfuel. We'll be sure to read these out on future episodes.